Joining us now, Pat Buchanan, who wrote a really interesting piece. Do Democrats really want an impeachment fight? He joins us now. Pat, first of all, it's great to talk to you, my friend. Interesting to take the temperature of my listeners across the country. And, a lot of them are Republicans, but a lot of them are not. A lot of them are just sick of the Republican Party or independents.
Right.
And they seem pretty stoked to vote in November just because of what they're seeing bubbling up through the far left of this country. Your reaction?
Well, I think we're going to have and I think the events of last week with the Michael Cohen event and Paul Manafort and the news and the blood in the nostrils that you see in the mainstream media, this is going to force the issue of Trump and impeachment, etc., I think, onto the table for the election. And I don't believe the Democrats really want that to be the issue in November because it will bring out the Trump base and the Republican base in defense of their man. But I think this is an inevitable thing. The Democrats, they've got to look at that impeachment issue. Is that what they want to do if they win the House all through 2019? Is attempt to bring down the President of the United States, and any bad consequences in the economy would be blamed on them? I think they would like to let this cup pass away, but the media is not going to let them do it. I think this is really the irrepressible conflict that is coming.
And I believe that MSNBC, which had a good week against Fox last week, they believe that impeachment hearings will be fantastic for their ratings. I actually think they're taking that into account. So they don't care if it's bad for the country.
Well, I think the ratings for all the cable shows, I believe, maybe not CNN, but MSNBC and Fox are very, very high, and your ratings and Hannity's ratings and Tucker's ratings are very, as high as they've ever been over the controversy involved around Donald Trump. And you're right, if there's an attempted impeachment, I don't know how long that will take, but I did predict that a fellow named Jerry Nadler would become a household word by February if Democrats take the House, because he'd be head of the Judiciary Committee and the Peter Rodino, if you will, for the political establishment of this era, the media establishment. Rodino chaired the committee that impeached Nixon, or attempted to impeach Nixon, and almost did.
Well, I think, again, in the end, this is terrible news for the country if this is what we're tied up into. It's
dreadful. I just don't look down the road and see how this really ends good for the country or even good for the president. Now that you had these convictions, I think you got the Southern District of New York, you got the Attorney General of the state of New York, you got the city prosecutor in New York, you got the Mueller investigation, you got the Avenatti operations, and all of these things. I think, and they're going to try to outweight and outlast Trump and bring him down. And I don't know how it ends, really. It seems to me this is going to go all through 2019. Impeachment is going to be the top issue in the country unless somehow we get into a war.
Well, and I think unless
not good for America.
No, terrible. And unless the Republicans can pull rabbits out of their hats here. And
I don't know how you stop the media and the Democrats if they've got control of the House. And even if Democrats in the House wanted to say, look, let's work on something popular for us, improving health care,
infrastructure,
or some of these other issues that are popular, and make Trump veto them or the Senate block them, they're going to be forced, I think, by the media to go after Trump because it's 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Bannon and company and RNC, they're not, they're preparing for the worst, but they're not, this, we're going to talk about this NAFTA thing in a moment, but this economy is just, this is hot. This is a hot economy. This is good.
I'll say, all these unemployment, all these records among minorities, African Americans, Hispanics, and others.
Oh, my God.
And it's going well in the stock market. Everybody that's got, you have to be a real Dumbo to lose money in this market.
Oh my God! You fire all your financial analysts who said get rid of stocks when Trump got elected. Remember that?
Yeah. Yep. Just hold on. It's really rising. But again, I think Democrats looking over the horizon, I think they would be so much better off if they could sort of opt out of this battle basically between the mainstream media, which Bannon was right, is the real opposition. It's not Dick Durbin or folks or Chuck Schumer. This is the real opposition that is the mortal adversaries of Donald Trump. And if Democrats could sort of opt out of that battle between Trump and the media and let the media do all the damage they could and Trump fighting back, I think they might be better off than if they were right in there and forced to be the lead horse in this battle.
That's a really good point. Why do they want to tie themselves to that anvil?
Why, yeah. I mean, it's already being done for them.
Pat, before we get to, I want to talk about the church and the Catholic Church issue with the huge pressure now on Francis and McCarrick and Donald Wuerl is the Archbishop of Washington. Just very quickly, they're going to announce this NAFTA deal with Mexico at 11 o'clock. Bob Lighthizer, who is one of the unsung heroes of economic nationalism and fair and free trade that is not distorted by fraud and capitulation, he ends up being, I think, one of the big heroes of what ultimately will be announced, along with the president, who just never backed down. And Canada, Justin Trudeau, is going to play domestic politics and not join in. I don't care. The fact that American auto manufacturers are going to benefit from the new origin of source rules, the labor rules, the minimum amount of hourly wages that have to go into each car, that's all positive for America. That's great for American manufacturing. Your reaction?
Well, it is far better than what we had. I haven't seen all the details of it. I'm sort of waiting for them myself.
Yep.
But there's no question about it that the original NAFTA was basically began the export of a huge slice of America's auto industry back over the border to Mexico to get the $2 an hour wages and, no regulations and all the rest of it. And this is a decided improvement upon it. But I will note that, in terms of the strong dollar and that, I think there was a figure today on the trade deficit over $70 billion, I think, for the month of July. And that is huge. That is a huge number. That's over $800 billion a year, I believe. And so we're going to have to see. But there's no doubt the only president in recent time who's been an economic patriot and an economic nationalist, whether you like or dislike the guys, is Donald Trump. And he's trying to do, and he's doing the best he can to fulfill his campaign commitments. What more can you ask of a president?
Yeah, and I think, look, these tariffs are just kicking in. The very small percentage of them have only been put in place with China. China's economy now is struggling for a variety of reasons, but Trump was just not willing to raise the white flag to China. He's the only person who could have done this. And again, we're going toe to toe with China on this stuff, but I got to tell you, this is obviously contrary to what the so-called experts were saying, the Bushes and everybody else, that a trade war is going to tank the U.S. economy. What malarkey did that turn out to be, Pat?
It really, you're exactly right. I was listening on the radio yesterday, and I heard a well-known free trader said, we ought to get tough with China. It's about time we got tough with China.
Trump's moved the needle here.
In the 90s, when all of us were saying, or some of us were saying, don't give MFN to China, for heaven's sakes, don't give MFN to China. Our factories will go over there. And now some of them are turning into trade hawks.
They're all Buchananites now, Pat. They're all Buchanan.
They're all economic nationalists now.
Yeah, they all have their pitchforks and they're like ready to go. Yeah, Trumpism.
But it's China. The China thing is really, he's getting praise from, obviously, with the Democrats and others, but a lot of folks are saying grudgingly, it is time the Chinese have been looting us and Donald Trump is basically right.
Yeah, their trade policies, even the CNN Money website today, saying trade policies are weakening China. Trump's trade policies. Well, in my mind, that's a good thing.
They sell 4 times as much to us as we sell to them. And Trump is right. They put a tariff on all of our exports there. I think it's about $130 billion. And we put a tariff on their exports. It's on $500 billion. I mean, that's a no-lose proposition.
No. It's absurd. Pat Buchanan, thank you so much, my friend. Always great to check in with you. I loved your column. Do Democrats really want an impeachment fight?